again, guys. Thank you so much for coming back. We are going to dive back into our 50 Willys Jeepster project. Remember, this is the one that's been converted over to a Chevrolet 194 straight six. By the way, the previous video I was talking about 4 cylinders or optional 6 cylinders in these things, the Go Devil or the Liberty 6, and the owner had to email me and point out the fact that there's a 6 right on the, it's right there. So this did have the 6 cylinder in it. That doesn't mean anything right now. We are going to dive into the electrical system and see if we can get our shorts to ground all squared away, get things working again, and make it safe and fun to drive again. I've already been digging in a little bit and finding some interesting things. So let's dig in here. Let's dive in. Let's do this. That was pretty much the worst intro ever. Anyway, Mr. Owner was also kind enough to send me over some wiring diagrams of the overdrive control system, the wiring diagrams and so forth. So we will put those to work. I also, in the previous video, was not finding a detailed wiring diagram for this vehicle, and it was only just the other day I was cleaning up and putting the owner's manual, the shop manual, away, and I saw a wiring diagram that had been copied poking out of the pages there. So don't know how I missed that earlier, but anyway, we have a much more detailed diagram here, and so that'll be of help. Now I had to do kind of a double take here and scratch my head, and I was like, what's going on here for a second? And I'll be, if this thing doesn't have early, must be optional, maybe it came from the factory. I really don't know what was available, what was offered as accessory, what was what, but we have certainly a very early conversion, if not factory, turn signal deal here set up. As you can see, our wiring diagrams show non-turn signal wiring, okay? And in a non-turn signal wiring setup, we just have 3 inputs, low beam, high beam, and park lights, and then doubles the output to each light, right? Well, on our park light bulbs here, we have 2 power wires coming into it, and it grounds through the body like usual. And then we have another power wire. Let's see, am I thinking about this right? I guess that's going to the other one, but yeah, so we apparently, and this is all braided early wire, so we apparently have a very early conversion to turn signals, as far as I can tell. But you can also see that the general state of things just needs to be, it needs a little attention, is what I'm saying. So I'm digging into the headlights here, as you can see, starting there, and I need to know what color is what function. So I've got our battery grounded here, and this is red with a white tracer. This is black. So it looks to me like black is low beam, red is high beam. Black on the park light is dim. that is bright. This thing is way out of alignment, going off towards the left side. It's a good thing we're digging into this, huh? Here in one little group we have wiper motor, voltage regulator, overdrive relay, and we do have our voltage resistor for the ignition right here. A lot of primary circuits are going through this overdrive relay. That's kind of one of my primary suspects for our possible short to ground. Even ignition is running through that thing. So I'm going to have to check that out very carefully when I get it all disconnected. Pop the cover off, which looks somewhat loose. Anyway, we'll get it off of there and go through it and make sure that's okay. But for right now, I am going to disconnect all of that, disconnect our coil, and everything else. So if you do this on your own project vehicle, which I highly encourage that you do, just mark absolutely everything. You know, don't even think about it. Just do it. Even on the off chance, you know, I really doubt I'm going to use it for much reference, but on the off chance that it answers even one question down the road, it's worth it. It just is. Okay, I have kind of three neat piles of circuitry here ready to be pulled through three separate holes in the firewall, and that's pretty much all of our wiring, except for the overdrive harness. Once again, that's going, where are you caught there? That's going to the switch down there by the gas pedal linkage, and that's gonna stay for now. There's no problem with that. Down by, I know it's dark, I've got my light somewhere else. The dimmer switch here, got that all loose, and I don't know why that's so loose. We'll try to tighten that up or whatever, but got that all loose, and there were quick connects, little bullet connectors like this on everything. Willys was kind of nice how they did that. Anyway, I unclipped the tail light harness all the way along the frame rail, and then we're coming towards our tail light back here, and then way up in here, just kind of reminded me of a Kubelwagen right now here. Okay, there it is. There's the wiring for the tail lights, and then it crosses over to the other side. Well, that's like one of the biggest tire thumpers I've ever seen. Holy cow, guy. I'm not gonna cross you in a dark parking lot. Anyway, I'm gonna take tail lights apart, pull that wiring out. That part will be done. And yes, I am putting off under the dash till the very last. 2 nuts on the inside hold this whole assembly on. And looks like we've kind of been painted on. The other one came off readily enough. These tail lights, they're basically like a plastic trailer light. See, we got modern wires there. I'm just going to cut it long. We will dissect that later and splice new wires in. I spent some time on my back underneath the dash here, just kind of familiarizing myself with what I need to do, what tools I need, so on and so forth, and what was what. It appears, so this would be my radio power and its fuse. This orange with fuse holder is going up to this, and that looks like my wiper motor. And that blue wire was the power in. I think that was the power in to the voltage reducer, the resistor for the coil. Pretty sure that's what that was. He told me what this was in email, and now I've forgotten again, but I'll just trace it and figure that out. Heater. Anyway, I'm just gonna go get up under there, start pulling wires and labeling, and we'll take a look when I'm done. Alright, I'm sure I'll have a few surprises along the way. Did my light die? Yeah, my light died. But I think I can pull everything through. Looks like turn signals. We'll cut apart, and whatever these speaker wires with, you know, go into power. I don't know. It's a little bit smaller than 3/4 here, and the hole in the dash. Did you just? All right, so I am going to get the. Am I out of focus, or are you? I'm going to get the wiring harness out, laid out, and start familiarizing ourselves with that in a second here. But I'm going over existing components, what we got to work with, and taking a look there. Just kind of checking all the continuities on the headlight switch, and everything is looking really pretty good. Off, I got no signal. We do have continuity through the circuit breaker or whatever that's pretending to be. Got tail lights, got park lights, no headlight. Halfway out, all the way out, we have headlights, no park light, and tail lights, no ground, no shorts to ground, so that's good. That's all looking okay. This little switch was the on-off for the fog lights, so we may find something a little bit more appropriate for that. And our ignition switch, I don't know if it's more or less universal type. It's about 3/4 of an inch here, and the hole in the dash in the panel is 1 inch. And as usual, when you start playing around with ignition switches, you always run into trouble, it seems, with how fat these things are going into an early vehicle. That was most likely 6 volt, at one time. So really, in that 1 inch hole, if we use this, it has to be offset all the way down for it to even work. I may look into other options, what's available, but I pretty much know this style that was around in the 60s. If it's got a start position, it's going to be this big, and there's really nothing else you can do about it. So I may play around with a bushing, a 1/4 inch crescent moon shape or something on top to get this down on the bottom of the hole there, and we'll see what we can come up with. Looks like this thing was used to paint the town, because it's red. Well, Louise, wake up, Louise. Look, go away. All right, let's see what we got. As previously stated, I did not know, I didn't even know Speedway made their own, or sold their own, or marketed their own harnesses. And I didn't know that's what I was getting. So that's just kind of exciting all the way around. It even says Speedway 12 circuit on the fuse block. Isn't that cool? Looks like we got headlight pigtails, alternator, starter signal wire, probably instrument, not sure what the brown wire is there, I find it interesting that everything, all the gauges in this vehicle are electronic. Headlight switch. Kind of have it all zip tied into groups there. Okay. So we want to do this right. So that goes there. This goes there. This goes there. This goes, whoops, whoops, there, there. What do you look like? There. Okay. It looks to me like this thing is built to go onto a snap-on bracket, but I was not provided one, and I don't see any mention of one or in any picture or anything, so maybe that's just not a level of service they're offering anymore. I don't know. Kind of disappointing. But I think what I can do is pop these tabs out and then take this as our base, and I'll just run some screws into the firewall that way, or whatever we need to do there, and then pop this back on. Doesn't look like that will be an issue. So the way that the wiring was sorted when I got the vehicle anyway was a little different than the new wiring harness was bundled, which isn't too surprising. Originally, again, when I got it, All of the lights, front and rear, were coming out this grommet here, or lack of grommet. And then I think this one that you saw me just kind of clean up the hole and put the grommet in, that was most of the engine wiring, I believe. I've got power to our voltage regulator there, and this is windshield wiper power. That's how it was before. I think that's a one-wire grommet, and I'm not really sure what that was about. But anyway, my point is I'm trying to replicate, go back to how it was when I got the car, and I'm almost done with the lights. Just got to keep pulling a lot of wires. Now as I go, I'm preparing to push stuff through the firewall. I am sorting things out into things I need and things I don't need. And obviously the things I don't need, I'm not going to bother running through the firewall. That's oil sending wire. I need it. That's an alternator exciter wire. What do we got here? Can't read it. Where'd the words go? Okay. Power antenna. You can reach out the window and pull the antenna up, so I don't think we need it. That has got to be solenoid power, so we're going to put that here. Hooking up our headlights here, starting to anyway. I have the tail lights done. I have the fuel sending unit done. That's all wrapped in loom. Everything is complete as far as the rear of the vehicle goes, which is unfortunately a very small fraction of the project, but that's how it is, right? So I'm going to be working here. This white wire that's in my way, that's the alternator. That's the excited wire, you know. Don't need that. I can pull that back. All we need for a generator from the harness standpoint is we have our battery wire here going to the battery terminal, and then we have a standalone harness field and armature going to the generator. That's really all we need. So I will get that pulled back. I also need to to not forget a power wire for the fog lights. Sorry about the fan noise. For you members of the channel, it's still like, we're getting towards 90 degrees inside, so I don't know if there's anything I can do with keeping this end of the shop cool without ripping everything out and just starting over, which isn't going to happen, so I think I'm just going to be sweating, right? Anyway, I am right now revamping our voltage regulator harness between the generator and the regulator. That should be fine. I checked the resistance on it. Everything looks good. Terminal ends were kind of a mess. I'll make them look prettier. I'll wrap it in friction tape so it looks pretty, and away we go. Should be just fine. I don't think I've mentioned it yet in this video. You know, we just did this same kind of thing on the 48 Chevy, so I'm kind of sorry that I show the same thing over and over, I guess. But anyway, unless you're very new here, you already know everything gets stripped, soldered, heat shrunk, taped, and then we move on. So we want it to look good, and we want it to keep working, right? There's more I can say for this heat shrink. Well, I've been making up a new little harness for the overdrive. Now, the main harness for it is okay, and I've got that reconnected almost. There were some issues with what I saw when comparing it with the wiring diagrams. There's supposed to be a power wire going right to the battery, and I believe that was connected to the resistor on the 6 volt or the resisted side, and then there is a coil, positive coil wire that was hooked up. Let's see, it wasn't even long enough to reach the positive side, so I don't know if that was connected to the resistor as well. Maybe the power wire was on the 12 volt side and the coil wire was on the 6 volt side. Guess I should have taken a picture. So an assumption I would make on my part, I mean, I know nothing about this system other than what I see on the wiring diagram, but I would assume this green wire is, sorry about that, just like a tachometer. That is your RPM signal going towards something in this system. I know there is a governor involved, so maybe that's where they derive the RPM signal from that, or for that, or whatever. Either way, all I can do is do what they say, right? Get these tightened down, get this harness cleaned up right, and we have a horn and then the battery, and I think that's it under here. So the cable that pulls the horn, well, we basically have the inner cable but no sheathing. There's a little bracket down there. I'll try to show you a little better in a minute, but there's a bracket there that holds the cable just like it would on a carburetor, and then the switch. I have this, what do we have? Deluxe hand choke conversion kit. $4.99 from Alco Duck Walls. It was one or the other. I grew up around an Alco. What did you grow up around? We may have a bracket here we can use. I'm going to see if the bracket mounted on the dash should be able to put this on there. There's a T handle on there right now. So we'll see if we can install this and get our horn working. This kit was something that was being thrown out, left over from the auction here. Sorry, I don't know if I'm right in your way. You get the idea. Yeah, that's gonna work just fine. Well, I'm going to be parked right here for the entirety of the day, doing more of the same. Got to get the gauges hooked up, got to get all the switches hooked up, the radio, turn signals, everything. I may do some high-speed footage, but otherwise, you hook up what you're supposed to hook up, you know, and keep going. So I'm going to see how far I can get today. Guess I should start. Well, we got a radio. Well, that's cool. Okay, somewhat temporarily, I've got my signal wires going to the bulbs hooked up for turn signals and so forth. I've got the power feed permanently soldered in, and I'm just testing it, make sure I've got my correct colors on the switch side, because I don't have a diagram or anything, and we're looking pretty good. If you are doing a universal harness but you are putting a generic aftermarket turn signal switch, I don't care if it's this interesting one like I've never seen before, or your typical chrome handle that you clamp on your column, that requires the use of a 3-prong, it should even come with one, a 3-prong flasher. And so what you do, your harness most likely has 2 flashers, one for the turn signals, one for the hazards. Okay, I always use the turn signal feed. What you do in this case is you cut out one flasher, and you're going to use the power to that flasher. So that's purple, that's our turn signal feed. The flasher was just hanging here. This one we will just wrap up, tuck away, and not use. We could pull the flasher, and that could be a spare for another project or whatever for the owner. But anyway, we're going to use one circuit, one flasher circuit. The other will not be used at all, and we remove the flasher that came with your harness. okay? Your power supply is going to go to that wire to your 3-prong. And then you're going to have you have a P, an X, and an L terminal. Your P and your L terminal go into the harness. And that is, let's see, that is flasher L and flasher P. I already said that, okay. And then you're going to have a brake switch wire, and then your 4 bulb wires. I'm trying to keep these separate so I can show you. And that's really all you need to do. On the bare bones, I don't know if you remember, if you watched that on the 48 Chevy, the Ron Francis bare bone system, all of that was on a nice little junction block, and the flashers were permanently installed in the junction block. So I pulled a flasher out and I made with spade terminals just a little jumper wire to go across there. And that way we got our power feed without going through a separate 2-prong flasher. But that should be going left. Left is going. I was hoping, I'm sure these are indicators. You know, green and then red in the center, but it's not working. So that's working. And right is working. And if we do both, I think we get hazards. Hazards are working. So I can solder all these connections, trim these up how I want them to be, solder them, heat shrink them, and I think this whole pod, I need to do the wiper switch on it, and then I think that whole thing can go back in. So we have what I'm assuming is aftermarket lever type horn. I've done a little bit of looking into it, and these vehicles should have had a horn relay originally, which I would assume they just had a typical electronic type horn, right? With a horn button. In fact, I haven't even tried pushing the center steering wheel. Yeah, I think that's a horn button. But this is what the guy has, and this is, I'm assuming, what he wants. So I have our power wire hooked up, and when you pull the cable, it must ground out the contacts in there to make the horn go, like you already saw. I'm wondering if I can incorporate the horn relay that came pre-installed in the wiring harness. So in order to use that horn relay, it's got to ground out. This wire is the wire that would go to the horn button, and then when you push your horn, you ground out the circuit, and your horn blows. The contacts in the horn relay close, and the horn goes off, right? So if I touch this to ground, I can hear the relay clicking. So say I just clip that on there, pull the cable, and it works. But I can't certainly just not leave this wire grounded out, because that would keep the relay energized indefinitely. And I would assume it would overheat and blow out and burn the car down. I hope not, but we certainly can't leave it like that. So it got me wondering, if I insulate the base and the cable of the horn from chassis ground, and then run this to the frame of the horn, pull that, I don't know, I gotta test it out. Well, the lever's already grounded to the frame of the horn when it is not engaged. So that pretty much means I can't do what I was hoping to do. So I'm just going to have to go around the horn relay, hook it up, wire it hot directly, and it'll be used as it was intended to be used, I guess. Oh well. Anyway, moving on. So here's my little jumper. I had a blown fuse from the back of the radio, a mini fuse, and so I heated it up and pulled the spades out of it and used that. Figured that'd be better than just jamming wire into these things. So I'm gonna cross that to that. And then if a guy ever wants a conventional, get the horn button working on this thing in the future or whatever, all he has to do is hook this wire up to the button, put the relay back in, and it should work. But that'll work for now. If you recall in the previous video, there was a jumper across our ammeter. The owner had put a jumper wire because the ammeter was not working, and indeed we have no continuity across our posts. We do down here, but we do not here. And let's see if I can show you this. Zoom in a little bit for you. Right here, I don't want to wash it out, but right here on this line, it is completely blown out, and I can see that. You can catch your eye underneath that bar. You can see a line all the way through. So that path is open. Not sure if I can, I'm not sure if I can repair that with solder, and B, I'm not sure if that's advised. You wouldn't think they would make this to where it would get hot enough to flow solder. You wouldn't think you would have that much heat in here, but I guess we just have to try it. Otherwise, it's kind of a shame. These gauges are very nice. Faded, but nice. So I'm going to give that a shot, see if we can solder it. I may even put some, I don't know if I should. I was thinking I could even put some copper strands in there and try to bridge the gap, but solder would, solder, it's gonna either work or it isn't, so got nothing to lose. Okay, we'll do a little bit of an update, show you what I've done, and we're getting pretty close. They supplied a fusible link, and they wanted that in line for the main power going to the fuse box there, so got that put in. Then I put in a voltage reducer. I was wanting 6 volts to our overdrive unit, not 12, so I threw that in there. Everything else under the hood you've seen. Ammeter, power's flowing through it, but so far we're not getting much of a reading across it, so I may look for a gauge online tonight. I'll just leave that hanging down there. All the other gauges are hooked up, fuel, oil, temperature. We got kind of a chintzy heater switch here, but you know, it's working for now. Ignition switch is done. All the lights, our dash lights, high beam indicator, that's all wired in. Headlight switch. I do need to work on the headlight contact wire here. The blue seems to be a poor connection, so I need to play around with that a little bit more. Wipers. That's working. Fog lights you've seen. I've got the spotlight tied into that, but unfortunately no response on that bulb, so I'm sure that's burnt out. You've seen the radio comes on, that's ready. I really think, other than buttoning up the headlights and remounting everything, I think we're done. And then I can, you know, coil up all this nonsense, or cut it down and coil it up, tape it up, and be done with it. I also wanted to rerun the wire going to this speaker because it's like right over the linkage for our cowl vent, so I might do that yet. But I think that is gonna be that. Well, we got more knobs and switches and dials in a P38, but I think everything is about to the point where I'm gonna leave it. Our light switch, the knob doesn't stay on, doesn't do anything. I hesitate to glue it on in case a guy needs to replace it or something, or, you know, maybe we just want to get a different one at some point. So I'm going to leave that off for now. The matching, I take it this is a matching factory style choke cable. I just have that in place. We'll work on that after a bit. Ignition switch, I got it to cover up the hole. Seems to be working fine. That's okay. Wipers. You can hear the relay for the overdrive click when I turn the key on. Well, there you go. I don't know if the phone was picking that up, but anyway. That works. Fog lights, horn. We got turn signals, heater. Not sure the state of all the gauges yet. We'll figure all that out when time comes. This is what we're looking like underneath. Separate bundles go into each item. Tied up to the firewall there. And hopefully that makes more sense. And this is under the hood. Everything is taped, tucked away, and hopefully functional. I forgot. Cranks just fine. So there we go. Park lights. Headlights. Still have tail lights. You have an indicator for high beams, off for low. Let's just do the flashers. Both of the rears. Both of the fronts. and fog lights. Good to go. So what's next for the Jeepster? Well, we need to get it running. Again, the guy was perfectly fine. In fact, encouraged to just go back with stock manifolds because the headers were just going to be kind of a mess, a bigger intake. You know, if you can't have one, what's the point of having the other kind of thing? So we're going back with a Rochester Model B carburetor. We've got that being rebuilt on the bench right now. So we're going to get the manifolds back on, button up the exhaust to get it running. I've got a few more things to do on the brakes. And then, once we have it running and driving, we need to dive into the rest of the overdrive system, make sure that is functioning, and then I think that's getting close to all we really need to accomplish on this thing. So it's been a lot of fun to get up to our elbows in this and replace the whole thing. I hope that'll be functional and safe and work for a guy for many, many years. Still a few things that could be done on it, admittedly, but we'll talk to him about it and see how far we need to take it. So, guys, I really thank you for coming along on this project with me. I have got to get back. I have got to concentrate laser beam on the 91 Cadillac. That one has been here way too long, as well as by the fall, which is coming up on us way too quickly, I have got to get the 48 back home. So stick around, come back, go to my channel, look at everything else that I've done if you're new here. Otherwise, thanks for watching. God bless you guys. See you on the next one.